each other, familiar breeds contempt, and what happens is you become desensitized, man. And so you forget to appreciate one another, and that is why that's a problem. I think the confusion comes in because you've become too familiar now, and instead of appreciating still, who the person is and some of things, and yes, of course the important thing is that's gonna happen. We're familiar with each other and stuff,
Because we
our
have stuff.
habits and it.
Uncle T, we have stuff. We have the
Mm,
kids. We never had the kids 7 years
mm,
ago, 8 years
mm,
ago, whatever, 10 years ago. We have jobs now. When you met, I was living in my Oma's house.
mm,
I never had rent. I never had to worry about those things. Now you add on all those things. When I lived at my Oma's house, you took me for dinner. Now I
mm.
must cook for you. You're adding all these things, and then slowly the affection just disappears because there's no time. What were you gonna say now?
Yeah. um when we think about, again, we go back to, you can say, how can we get back there, or
Mm,
whatever. But here's the thing, that say Gary Chapman's five languages of love.
mm,
He speaks about the five different ways we show love.
mm,
For example, acts of service,
mm.
words of affirmation, gifts,
Yeah.
physical touch, all of that.
Mm,
And and notice how even five language of love, it's doing words,
mm,
words of affirmations, things
mm.
that you actually say,
Yeah.
acts of gifts and acts of
Mm.
service and stuff. and
It is
and,
actually.
and so when we think about it
Yeah.
now, say acts of service now,
Mm,
and this is, I think, this is key also.
mm,
Sometimes our words, and we mean well, it comes off maybe too critical.
mm.
It comes off so critical. We mean well, we say, you know what, I need this, I need that, but then it almost seems like, oh, you're bombarding me with stuff,
Yeah.
man.
You.
And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, what you really want is to say, okay, the way we're going to work on our affection
Mm,
is, I'm going to love. I know my husband's got this stuff going on.
mm,
Now there are things that I really want to talk to him about, but I know he's working hard. So today I'm gonna make his favorite meal or
mm,
whatever. The same for a man.
mm,
Uh, you might say, okay, like a guy, you say to yourself, you, but I've never cooked in my life. My wife
mm.
is working hard. I wish I could do something.
Oh, she's
You,
tired of the kids.
yeah,
Like
then
this a lot.
then you
Yeah.
just YouTube it, man.
Yeah.
YouTube it and
Yeah.
follow it to the T, pause and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
and do it. I'm telling you, it's going to make a world of difference, and
Mm,
you're going to find that through these acts of love,
mm,
you're going to find that actually it's helping your affection,
mm.
and from there you become more honest, and from there you're able to speak without really like arguing, breaking out in an
Mm.
argument and stuff. So
Because
all
it
of the
does
things.
get to that point, Uncle T. Like
Mm,
with me, where you start speaking and then it's like it's an argument, but you're not trying to argue. But now you've
mm,
built bad habits where you're asking for something, but it comes out as an argument. Oh, I'm not good enough.
mm,
Oh, I never do anything right. But it's actually just something that you're needing. But now that I'm looking back, I'm thinking, was it a need that I expressed kindly? Or was it a need of you're not doing enough?
mm,
You're not doing this. But now listening to you, it's honest conversation our whole life.
mm,
You know what? Like, I hear you, I see you, I can do a bit of that. It's just all it is. But we get so offended also
mm.
because we think we're doing stuff right. Like, how can you say that I'm not cooking every night? I cook all, it becomes, again, about us. Now that I'm thinking back, most of the arguments we make it about ourselves, and that's why we're arguing. How can you tell me I don't try hard? Of course I do.
Mm.
But if it becomes sacrificial, I'm sorry. Let's talk about it. What will make it seem or show you that I am trying hard? Because I thought I was by my actions. This what I and sometimes it is a misunderstanding. Like the acts of love.
Mm.
I was loving a certain way. I want to be loved a certain way. Typical example, I don't spark maybe affirmation words. I'm bottom there. I can affirm myself. But now maybe I prefer that if you come home, when you walk past, give me a hug, rub my back. I like that now. Where maybe my husband again likes coffee. If I do something for him, it makes him feel like I see him. So it's again, this is wild.
And
This
I
is wild. I feel like what have we been doing?
And I think,
Yeah.
the way you explain it is right.
Mm,
You explain it in a practical way, but what you say, I think what you're also saying, and I think
mm,
you mentioned it earlier, is that that's who we are naturally. Naturally, no
mm,
matter who you are,
yeah.
doesn't matter to me who you are, where you
Mm,
come from. We are naturally selfish people, all of us.
mm,
We have selfish ambition.
yeah.
In other words, some false motives
Mm,
many times, but we also have, here's the big problem, vain conceit.
yeah.
We have really opinions about ourselves which are wrong.
Yeah.
We
What
think,
is that thing?
we,
Where it's yourself and then how people see you. That
oh yes,
study
here's the thing.
where you see yourself like this person, and then when you ask other people, they're like, I'm not like that. Because you
Yeah,
view yourself most like you're someone 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Now you see the whole thing of when we think
One
about.
thing I must say, so also my uncle studied HR, not just ministry, but also with HR, he studied psychology. So it's very interesting because he obviously has the biblical experience on a T, but then the psyche comes in. We're not big, I won't say believes, you can't believe in psyche. But it's interesting how people view certain things. Anyway,
It's
yeah.
it is what Paul describes in
Mm,
Philippians 2.
yeah.
When he says, when he speaks about vain conceit.
Mm,
Vain conceit is to have an opinion of yourself, and
yeah.
we all have it, whether we
Yeah.
like it or not. We
Mm,
all have it. And Paul is, and even in Philippians 2,
mm,
when he speaks about vain conceit, false opinion of
mm,
self, he goes on to say, actually, in verse 4, in verse 3, he speaks about selfish ambition,
mm,
false motives,
mm,
vain conceit, false opinion of self.
mm.
We all have it. We think we're warmer, than we
Yo.
really are.
Mm,
And but then he goes on to say, the very next verse, it's
mm,
interesting. He says, think not only of your own interest,
mm,
but think also of the interest of others. It's something, because we are so self-centered by
mm,
nature.
mm,
No matter who you are,
mm.
you see it in your child.
Yep.
Self-centered, want it
Yep.
now. We're all like that.
Mm,
No one can say, I'm not self-centered.
yeah.
We are all self-centered,
Mm,
but that is because of our sinful nature.
yeah.
We are just like that.
Mm,
And what we want to do, especially in relationships,
mm,
we want to be so aware of it.
mm,
Don't be oblivious
yeah.
to say that, look, I'm as selfish as the next person.
Yeah.
I can be. But what we do is we say, okay, look, I know that's my natural inclination.
Mm,
Because naturally, the truth is,
mm,
naturally, our natural inclination is, for example, we don't want to draw near to God. The
mm,
flesh is just like that.
yeah.
But when we love the Lord, we draw near to Him. In
Mm,
the same way, when it comes to these things, that I'll take it together, and you
mm,
think about vain conceit,
mm,
and then you say to yourself, you know what? Especially if I'm in a marriage or even a romantic
mm,
relationship, then I want to approach my relationship like this. That I want to make sure that when I'm doing something, even when
mm,
I'm trying to talk about something that's bothering me,
mm.
I must do it in a sense that I'm also thinking of the interest of the other
Yes, you
person.
said so. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because the moment you just make it about yourself, it
Mm,
becomes a problem. And then you start seeing the fragmentation, you
mm,
start seeing, these kinds of things. So I think
mm,
the most important thing is, as we said, it all goes back to that,
mm.
that key thing, that there must be sacrificial love.
Yeah.
Even when I know there are things that the other person must work on, it's
Mm,
true. I think that must be voiced in
mm,
a kind way,
mm,
and in a loving way.
mm,
And then, of course, you both people obviously
mm.
going to work always on things you
Yeah,
have to work on.
definitely.
So the last thing we want to do is to make the other person think that everything's wrong with them
Yeah,
and everything's right with us, because
exactly.
that's how we tend to be.
Yeah. So just a practical example now, because you made me think about that. We have another guest here. Okay.
Mm.
So now let's say for example, like especially with moms with kids. Now your husband doesn't naturally